Joe Biden has cancer. We will discuss that. The good, kind of, and the bad out of the Supreme Court. Savanah Hernandez is here. Senator Ron Johnson gives us an honest update on government spending. All that and more coming up on I'm Right. Different jobs have different levels of importance. I think you would agree with that, right? That's a fairly simple statement, but I think you would agree with it. We'll get to Joe Biden in a moment, but different jobs have different levels of importance. For instance, a carnival, the fair. You've been to one before. The guy making the funnel cakes. Now, let's just assume he has to have a license to make the funnel cakes, a permit of some kind. What if I was to forge for myself a permit saying that I am permitted to make funnel cakes? Is that a big deal? Does that rise to the level of criminality? Someone should be thrown in prison? I think you would probably say no, maybe a small fine or something like that, but it's no big deal. It's funnel cakes. Okay, you put too much sugar on it. Okay. Now, what if I did the same thing and pretended to be an airline pilot and I didn't know how to fly? What if I forged all the documents I had to forge, and I got on a commercial airliner with 300 lives on board, and I didn't know how to take off, I didn't know how to land, I didn't know how to fly at all? Would you agree that that is a crime? Probably, right? Because of the importance of the job, because you have other people's lives in danger. Now let's discuss Joe Biden and the latest cancer diagnosis, which is awful, right? For in case you've been under a rock, over the weekend, it came out that Joe Biden has prostate cancer, late stage prostate cancer, terminal. Joe Biden's going to die from this. Now, let's pause on this for a moment. As many of you know, I recently lost my father. 6-7 months ago, I lost my dad. What many people do not know is before we lost him, he had prostate cancer. No, that's not what eventually took him. It was his heart, but prostate cancer. So I actually got familiar with this whole process. And do you know how he found out he had prostate cancer? Shows up in your blood. I'm not going to bore you with medical things here, but your basic blood work will tell you there's something wrong, better go get a checkup. This is basic stuff. It's not like he went to some super advanced doctor. Family doctor took one look at his blood work. Hey, we need to get your prostate checked. It's obvious. It's in there. It's in the blood. Now, that was my father. He knew he had prostate cancer, and he found out so far ahead of time that he was able to successfully treat it. My father never went to the doctor. Couldn't get him to the doctor. Once a year, if you're lucky, he'll go get his blood work done. Joe Biden was president of the United States of America. Joe Biden, as a requirement, as a basic requirement, got checkups all the time. He didn't get to do the stubborn, I'm not getting my blood work done thing all the time. Now, let me tell you something else I discovered about prostate cancer. Prostate cancer, I'm not going to be dismissive of it, and gentlemen, be aware of this, but prostate cancer takes a long time to get to the place where it's in your bones and terminal. That's not checkup number one. It's not like something horrible like pancreatic cancer where you're fine and then one day you find out it's stage 4 and you'll be dead in a month. Prostate cancer doesn't work in that way. It takes a long time as it slowly but surely embeds itself into your body. If Joe Biden now has prostate cancer and it's terminal and it's in his bones, that means Joe Biden very likely had prostate cancer terminal for the entirety of his presidency. Listen to this, doctor.
It's very unusual to hear that someone has prostate cancer where they're annually being followed up. And the fact that we just find it at a Gleason 9 is just pretty much unheard of in this day and age of medicine. Well, most likely he had prostate cancer for a long time, and the aggressive prostate cancer such as this at age 80 grows over a long period of time. I mean, usually it takes from the first diagnosis of prostate cancer to spread would take 5 to 10 years. I think there's definitely evidence that he probably knew about this for a while.
Well, let's go ahead and get past all the probablys and the maybes, and he should have. Joe Biden and Joe Biden's team knew that he had prostate cancer. They knew for a fact it was terminal, and they lied and covered it up. Combine that with his mental decline. At what point in time does the cover up of Joe Biden's physical and mental health rise to a crime? I would say we're far past that. And of course, they lied and covered it up. Joe Biden's dementia brain couldn't keep him from actually spilling the beans. This is a clip from 2022.
That's why I and so damn many other people I grew up have cancer. And why can't, for the longest time, Delaware had the highest cancer rate in the nation.
I've got cancer. Of course they knew he had cancer. This isn't some recluse living in the mountains, never seeing the doctor. It's the president of the United States of America. He wakes up every morning and gets his blood work done. They knew it. And I'll tell you something else. Not only did they know it, they made a decision about it. I remember the conversation with my father. See, prostate cancer is one of those things. You can choose to treat it in different ways. None of those ways are pleasant or wonderful. Or, I remember this conversation like it was yesterday, some people choose to not. I remember the conversation with my father. He said, doctor flat out told him, some people choose just to die from it because it takes so long to die from it, 5 to 10 years. They say, hey, I'd rather keep my quality of life 5, 10 years and then check out of here. I believe the President of the United States of America, the former President of the United States of America, not only knew he had prostate cancer, he either was getting secret treatments or chose to just give up all treatments, hoping he could survive before he died in the White House. Again, I ask, at what point does this rise to a criminal level that this man pretended to be a functional adult with the most important job in the world for 4 years, much more important than the airline pilot we discussed just a couple minutes ago. And when you combine that with the gall these people had as they were covering up the fact the president had terminal cancer, these exact same people, in fact, Joe Biden himself saw fit while he was lying about his health, mental and physical, to get on camera in front of the American people and scold you about the medical steps you should take.
Over 200 million Americans have gotten at least one shot. We've been patient, but our patience is wearing thin, and your refusal has cost all of us.
That human being, while he looked you in the eye and told you he was losing patience with you because you didn't want an experimental vaccine, that human being was dying of cancer and he knew it and he lied to you about it. These people, Joe Biden himself, are freaking deeply evil. And I hope Joe Biden, I really genuinely do, hope he gets right with God before he finally passes away. And no, David Axelrod, no, we're not going to use this to move on from what you people did.
His medical condition now, his announced medical condition now, do you believe that silences or delays a lot of conversations about his, last year and a half of his presidency for now?
Yeah, well, I mean, I think those conversations are going to happen, but they should be more muted and set aside for now as he's struggling through this.
Why does David Axelrod want us to just move on? Hey, I know we covered up everything about Joe Biden, but he has cancer. Let's pray for his family. We're just time to move on. Why does David Axelrod want that? Do you think it's out of some deep, abiding love for Joe Biden? Do you think David Axelrod cried himself to sleep last night when he found out Joe Biden was dying? No, David Axelrod and the other communists in the media and the Democrat Party want to use this as an excuse to move on because they are all dirty criminals who kept a human being who wasn't even functional as president of the United States, and they did it so them and all other communist friends could rip this country apart while Joe Biden pretended to be president. No, we will not use this as an opportunity to move on. We will use this as an opportunity to hopefully drag criminals out into the public square where we have public trials and send them to prison. This has to rise to a crime, otherwise crimes do not exist. If you can lie to get a man and keep a man as president of the United States of America, then there are no other crimes as far as lying about your profession, because nothing is more important than that. And look, we should have all known that the media, the Democrats were lying. We should have known it because you can tell when communists are lying. Do you know how you can tell when communists are lying? When they choose the exact same line and they're extremely bold about it. So when they all start saying the same extremely bold thing, you know for a fact it's a lie. Remember, credit to Tom Elliott for putting this together. Remember all of this? This is how we knew he was in bad shape.
Start your tape right now, because I'm about to tell you the truth. And F you if you can't handle the truth. This version of Biden is the best Biden ever.
I was sitting, 2 feet from him across the table, and he was, intense.
Have trouble walking sometimes? Yeah, so did FDR. He wanted GD war.
But he's totally focused. He's very sharp.
He's older. That doesn't mean that he is unfit, and there's a lot of ageism there.
Now, this age attack, this obsession by the right,
age is an asset.
He showed exactly how with it he is.
The flip side of this coin is that he has a tremendous amount of wisdom and experience.
It's the Hillary's email. All they have is that he's old.
You have Wall Street Journal running a horribly sourced piece saying that Biden is unfit.
Dubious Wall Street Journal report about the president's acuity.
Shoddy story by the Wall Street Journal questioning Biden's mental fitness.
Wall Street Journal story had a lot of flaws, as you said. But Sinclair, they didn't do any original reporting. They didn't follow up. They didn't do any work.
And now, remember the Robert Hur stuff? Joe Biden had to sit down with this special counsel because he illegally had classified documents, and Robert Hur sits down with Joe Biden. Remember, there was this huge cover-up about the audio tapes. Oh, no, you don't need to hear those. And remember, the White House edited the transcripts. We had to take some words out. This was Joe Biden talking about his son's death.
Where did you keep papers that related to those things that you were actively working on?
Well, I don't know. This is what, 2017, 18, that area?
Yes, sir.
Remember, in this time frame, my son is either been deployed or is dying. And so, what month did Bo die? May 30th,
2015.
Was it 2015 he died?
2015.
I think it's 2015.
I'm not sure the months are, but I think that was.
Yeah.
That's right, Mr. President.
4 years. Think about what Donald Trump just finished. That big trip overseas, get on Air Force One, has to go meet with all these world leaders, forge these huge trade deals, relationships, guide America's foreign policy. I don't care whether you love Trump or hate him. That's not the point. Think about what he just did physically and mentally. For 4 years, we sent that overseas. Can you imagine what other countries thought about us when Joe Biden was walking out of those meetings? Again, I will ask, when does this rise to the level of criminality? If I forged that airline pilot's license, you would want me thrown in prison for putting the lives of 300 people in danger. Who goes to prison because of Joe Biden? Somebody should. Somebody should. Maybe we should start with his wife. This heartless witch, not only did she know and cover it up for 4 years, Joe Biden has prostate cancer in his bones. It will kill him. It will kill him before too long. And Jill Biden wanted him, fought tooth and nail, so he could run again for president of the United States. And as early as last week, she had him on The View.
We found ourselves unable to deal with a lot of just basic issues, and which I won't go into in the interest of time. And so we went to work, and we got it done. And one of the things that well, and
Alyssa, one of the things I think is that the people who wrote those books were not in the White House with us, and they didn't see how hard Joe worked every single day. I mean, he'd get up, he'd put in a full day, and then at night I'd be in bed, reading my book, and he was still on the phone reading his briefings, working with staff. I mean, it was nonstop. It's the White House. Being president is not like a job. It's a lifestyle. It's a life that you live. You live it 24 hours a day.
Her husband's sitting beside her dying, and she's on national television, dressed him up in a suit so she could go yell about people complaining about his health. We seriously were led for 4 years by the most evil, soulless freaking demons on the planet. I'm just blown away by the whole thing. All that may have made you uncomfortable, but I am right. Look, there's all kinds of things that make me uncomfortable in Washington, D.C., and we'll get to more of those in a moment. Before we do that, one thing that I do love is Wasson Watch. I love Wasson. It's not just how the watch looks. I like it. I like having a man's watch, right? I like having a man's watch. It's not one of these foo-foo watches. It's a man's watch, high-quality Swiss watch, but it's a patriotic company. They're founded by a Marine. United States Marine, loves this country, fought for this country in the GWOT, in the global war on terror. Wasson Watch loudly talks about our values, the things you and I care about. My goodness, if you're in the market for a watch, if you're in the market for a gift, there's only one place to look. Get a fat discount with the promo code Jesse at wassonwatch.com. That's wassonwatch.com. We'll be back. You know what's wild? I've thought about this before. In fact, we've probably had this talk before on the show, is Democrats nationally, we'll call it 50%. I realize it's less than 50%, but they get in a presidential election roughly 50% of the vote. So about half the country votes Democrat. And think about this. Think about how crazy that is. The entire American media, the major corporate companies, all for Democrats. The education system, certainly the public, the government education system, K through 12 and college, all Democrats. Hollywood, all Democrats. Essentially, there's this gigantic protection system in place designed to prop up Democrats. And even with all that, this huge ecosystem, they can only get to 50%. That's how horrible Democrat policies are. That's how unpopular what Democrats' wants are. What their wants and desires are, I guess I should say. And that actually brings me perfectly to illegal immigration. There's a story out of Denver. Probably went right by you, but stay with me here. There's a story out of Denver. Here's the story. Denver has been flooded with illegals. They're one of these great American cities that went full commie and they've destroyed themselves. And the illegals have just been pouring into Denver and pouring into Denver. Well, ICE has been focused on getting the gangbangers, the illegals, out of Denver. You've already seen it in the news, a raid here, a raid there. They're grabbing illegals, they're tossing them out of Denver. Would you like to know how much of a reduction in homicides Denver has seen now that they've gotten a bunch of illegals out? 60%. 60%. I'm going to tell you something right now. The entire American media, the entire Democrat Party, half the Republican Party, our education system, everybody, they are not just dedicated to protecting and propping up Democrats. They are dedicated completely to covering for illegals when illegals commit crimes. Think about, just off the top of your head, just whatever pops in the top of your head, think about how many crimes you can name that an illegal has committed. Maybe it's just headlines that have flashed through your head. Maybe you're thinking about Laken Riley, Jocelyn Nungary. Maybe you're thinking about another one of these DUI types that splatters a family of 5 on the highway when he's high and drunk. Just the stuff that popped into your head. Now think about this. That's how much illegal immigrant crime you know about, and you know about that with the entire ecosystem dedicated to covering for these people. The amount of crime in this country done by foreigners who shouldn't be here would floor you if you ever were able to actually get the honest information, which of course you cannot get. And it's why, Kash Patel, Dan Bongino sat down, did a big interview. It's why this stuff exists.
The border was open for 4 years. So what happens is crime metastasizes. What happens is you have hundreds of thousands of illegals come across, and a bunch of them are really bad criminals. Not all of them, but a bunch of them. And then they nest into societies. And this is why we're rolling out Mexican street gang task forces across the country, because it's not the international gangs that are just the problem. It's these inner city gangs that exist in 1 or 2 towns here and there and have metastasized and taken over the drug trade, the sex trafficking trade, the child forced labor trade, and the gang trade. They are all in, and no one has been focusing on them because our cities and our elected leadership has allowed them to live without being policed. But that's over now that Dan and I are in the seat.
Another reminder that voting for Democrat in the year 2025 is an act of evil. I'm sorry. I know your dad voted Democrat. I've always voted Democrat. It's not me telling you to vote Republican. If you vote for Democrats now with their stance on just illegal immigration, I don't need anything else. Just on that, it's an act of evil. It is. A vote for Democrats is a vote to bring rapists and murderers into your country as fast as humanly possible. That's a fact. Now, let's talk to Savanah Hernandez. She went to an ICE facility. Some blue-haired freak started yelling at her. I thought it was hilarious. Before we talk to Savanah, let me talk to you about switching up your phone service. I know it sounds like a pain. So believe me, I'm aware that change sucks. Nobody likes it, myself included. But when I tell you to switch to Pure Talk, I want to make this perfectly clear. It's easy, it's fast, and it'll save you money. Verizon, AT&T, and T-Mobile hate you. You know that. They also charge you way too much money. When I switched to Pure Talk, my phone bill got cut in half. It took me 10 minutes. 10 minutes. I didn't even need a new phone. Same phone number. It was all done by phone in the mail. And they're pleasant. 10 minutes to save a fortune and patronize a company that shares your values? puretalk.com/JesseTV. We'll be back.
They'll take you too. They don't really care.
Why do you think they're going to take me too?
Because you have brown skin.
That's pretty racist. I'm an American citizen.
Doesn't matter.
So you think I'm going to get deported?
You could.
So this woman right here thinks I'm going to get deported because I'm a brown woman. That's an extremely racist thing to say, ma'am.
No, the racist people are...
No, you're the racist because you just came up to me and said I'm going to get deported because I'm brown. How dare you? How dare you sit here and speak to me because of my skin tone? No, I don't need to be careful.
I really greatly enjoyed that, probably more than I should have. Joining me now, the star of that little show, Savanah Hernandez, Frontlines Turning Point USA reporter. Savanah, are you broadcasting currently from Mexico?
You know what? Unfortunately for white liberals across America, I did not get deported. I probably will not ever get deported because, like I said in that clip, I am an American citizen, Jesse.
Savanah, okay, set this up for us. Where is this? What's going on here? How did you end up talking to that hag?
Absolutely. So I'm actually outside of that now infamous Delaney Hall ICE Detention Center in New Jersey. And the reason why I went there is because we saw the mayor of New Jersey, Ras Baraka, create that whole entire scene in which he was going to go and storm the facility because it's innocent women and children that are being detained in this area. So I went over that way to go talk to the protesters that were outside because I wanted to discuss with them who was really inside of this facility. And of course, as we all know, it's murderers, it's rapists, it's MS-13 members, right? These are drug traffickers, people who attack children. And I went to confront these people to ask them why they were doing that. They refused to essentially confront the facts of who they were really protecting, or they doubled down on the fact that these people did deserve dignity and due process, which, by the way, Jesse, 75% of the people in this facility have criminal charges, have convicting or pending criminal charges, or have been convicted of criminal charges. So again, everyone in this facility, the majority of them got due process. So that's how this entire situation was set up, was me just simply going out and asking these people why they are defending criminal illegal aliens who shouldn't be in this country.
Savanah, we know, you and I have talked about this many times before, that some of this is organic, just crazy people, and some of this stuff is paid. A lot of this communist activity in the country is paid for and organized. Did you get the sense, because you were on the ground, I wasn't, did you get the sense that this is paid for?
You know, Jesse, to be quite honest with you, I do think that these people were just organically crazy. These people were out there on a Wednesday afternoon. These are grown adults who are deciding to spend their time, again, defending people who they know nothing about, that are not American citizens. These are the worst of the worst in society. So these are the very few just legitimately crazy Americans who go out here to protest. And as you can see by the age range here, these look like retirees. These look like that same boomer-esque, brainwashed subset of America who still, for some reason, thinks that Obama was the greatest thing since sliced bread, and think that these poor, people that are being deported are all the best thing that ever happened to America.
That lady wasn't the only cat lady you interviewed. There's a whole host of others. Here's a little bit of it.
You think child rapists deserve dignity?
Absolutely, I do. This is a democracy, and we're here, the people who are here, we're here to stand up for our democracy.
What do you say to the people who say that Donald Trump was democratically elected to mass deport the illegal aliens in this country?
There are laws in this country. Due process is one of those laws.
So I was reading that 75% of the people in this vicinity have either committed a crime, have pending criminal charges, and they did get that due process, and they are criminals. What are your thoughts on that?
I would guess that that's a lie, because we don't even know who's in there. I want to know where you're from, where this station is from, because the kind of questions you're asking me are very, very offensive.
Well, you're offended by my question, but a lot of Americans are offended by the fact that illegal immigrants broke into our country and have been murdering people.
I'm finished.
Everybody deserves love. Everybody deserves dignity.
Thank you
Everybody
for your time.
does. Even you. Even you.
Thank you.
Even you.
I'm not a child rapist or an MS-13 member, so I would hope so.
No, you're just a capitalist exploiter who likes to exploit people's pain.
Thank you. Thank you.
She seemed lovely.
Oh, yeah, Jesse. If you are an obese woman with blue hair in 2025, I can guarantee you that you have the most full and happy life amongst us. No, not really. This is why this woman was out in the middle of the day, instead of working a job, was screaming and defending, again, the worst criminals in society who shouldn't even be in this country to begin with. So oftentimes, Jesse, I do try to keep my reporting very much. I was going to go actually and stand in front of this Delaney Hall Center and essentially just kind of highlight the facts of who's in the center, why it opened up, because it did open up just recently. But again, the crazies were out in full force. And of course, it was like, well, who are you with? What are you doing? Why are you being offensive? And again, you see my last name, Jesse, okay? I'm a Hernandez. I have a Hispanic heritage. But at the end of the day, I'm an American citizen. I have no loyalty to Mexico. And I'm so tired of every single hyphenated American in this country that is making an issue out of the mass deportations that need to take place. Let's not forget that at the height of this illegal immigration crisis, you had 10,000 illegals come into our country in a single day. You had 250,000 of them come in a single month. So this is why the American people voted for mass deportations, myself included, and it is uninformed and ridiculous Americans like the one that I spoke to in this video that are continuing to push this misinformation about the people that are being deported.
Finally, speaking of deportations, it appears Denver, once one of my favorite cities in this country, Denver used to be awesome. Man, I've had some really great times in Denver. It's turned into a dump because, of course, they handed the place over to the communists. But Denver is enjoying some of the fruits of deportation, aren't they, Savanah?
Oh, absolutely. I'm not sure which story you're talking about specifically, but regarding Trinidad Agua, they're not taking over apartments in the area anymore. And it does seem like the, entire state of Colorado is really getting cleaned up, which the people and the residents there, were asking for a long time. So it's nice to see law and order reinstated.
Yeah, I was discussing, really, I should have told you what I was referencing, the 60% drop in homicides. Savanah, people really do not understand, because the media covers it up and Democrats do too. They do not understand how much violent crime in this country is due to illegals. They just don't. They don't get it because it's been covered by our system. It's jaw-dropping, the impact on us.
Oh, absolutely. Isn't it crazy how when you pick up the criminal illegal aliens who are committing the majority of the crime off the street, how the crime rates go down? We're going to continue to see this over the next 4 years. And it's incredible to see the immediate effects of instating law, order, and borders in our country.
Yeah, no doubt. Savanah, come back soon. All right. Kash Patel gave us some public comments talking about things like January 6th. We're going to talk about the budget and things like Kash Patel's comments with Senator Ron Johnson next. Before we get to that, let me get to natural things. The medical community's been in the news, and not really for great reasons, because people are figuring out that a lot of it is corrupt. I believe in natural things. I go to CHOC first when I want help with something, not last. It's not like a last resort thing. The natural herbal supplements at CHOC have changed my life. I really mean that. Changed my life. Do you want to feel better all the time? More energy, healthier, focus? Go to CHOC.com/JesseTV. I take a male vitality stack if you're wondering what I take, but they have a lot more than just that. Men, women, old, young, no matter who you are, what you're looking for, CHOC can help you. CHOC.com/JesseTV. We'll be back.
I want to do what has not been done in 24 years, balance the federal budget. We're going to balance it.
We have to cut spending.
We don't have a revenue problem in this country. Revenues are up. In fact, they're up at historic levels. What we have is a spending problem.
Reduce the size and scope of government, make it work more efficiently and effectively for the American people.
He wants to balance the budget. I know I do too.
We do not have a revenue problem in the United States of America. We have a spending problem.
Ooh. Well, that is a load off. Here, I was worried that the powerful people in D.C. were not going to cut spending, but listening to all of them talk about it, I guess they're serious this time. Joining me now, Senator Ron Johnson, great senator from the state of Wisconsin. Hey, Senator, how serious are all these people about cutting spending?
Well, Jesse, first of all, I appreciate you playing that clip. That was I had my staff do that. The full clip runs about a minute 30 of all these leaders saying that, some version of we don't have a revenue problem. We have a spending problem, but I'm sad to report that they're not living up to their rhetoric. They just simply aren't. I mean, the House bill, sounds like a lot, right? $1.5 trillion. But you have to put that in context. According to CBO, we will spend $89.3 trillion over the next 10 years. We will add $22 billion to our debt. That's a deficit on average of $22.2 trillion per year. And the House is proposing $150 billion a year. The $1.5 trillion, by the way, is reduced by about $340 billion in new spending on defense and the border. So you're talking about less than $1.2 trillion over 10 years. That's about a 1.3% reduction. And again, $150 a year compared to over $7 trillion. Again, we went from $4,400 billion in 2019 to $7,000 billion. Next year, we're projected to spend about $7.3 trillion. So we're still going to be above $7 trillion, a 58% increase, unprecedented level of increase. And it just seems like nobody's serious about returning to a reasonable pre-pandemic level of spending. And I think you know I've laid out options, somewhere between $5.5 and $6.5 trillion, taking total outlays, plus inflation, plus population growth using this year's Social Security, Medicare, and interest. This is eminently doable, but you need the commitment by the president. You need the commitment by members of Congress to actually drive that process. And right now, we don't have that commitment.
Senator, can you help me understand as best you can? I know you're frustrated, and I appreciate you coming on and giving us an update on this. Why we don't have that commitment? I understand the president has campaign things. He campaigned on no taxes on tips, things like that. He wants to get that done. I totally get that. I don't fault him for it. I understand that there are things that you don't even get a say in, the stuff that's guaranteed in there. But there's nothing else. So where's all the other extra stuff coming from? That's not 1.5 trillion. It doesn't add up to that.
Not even close. And let's face it, how are we going to realize and codify the DOGE savings? And last time I looked, they were up to about 165 billion. We haven't received a rescission package. I'm not hearing of any of those DOGE exposed waste, fraud, and abuse included in this reconciliation package. So, I mean, it's great to talk about it. It's great to say we're going to reduce spending. But again, bottom line, if we go from 7.3 to 7.15, that's still a 1.7% increase over what we're going to spend this year. So again, that's how Democrats talk. That's their rhetoric, where they actually turn an increase and call it a cut. It's not a cut. It's a reduction in the rate of growth, I suppose. But we would still, according to my calculations, with this big, beautiful bill, add about $4 trillion to our projected deficit. Instead of 22 trillion, we'd add about 26 trillion. Instead of going up from 37 to 59, we'd go up to about 63 trillion. And that's the reality. This is rhetoric versus reality. I just happen to be pointing out the reality, and people don't like it.
Senator, I can't help but be suspicious about the fact that we still don't actually have a bill on the president's desk. And I say it this way because these bills tend to get worse as the deadline looms larger, because these corrupt dirtballs in D.C. throw more corruption in there knowing there's a deadline coming. I'm worried this bill is actually going to get worse than it currently is. Do you share that concern?
Well, right now, House conservatives, to their credit, are digging their heels in, and they're making improvements. But again, even if they actually hit the targets, in other words, don't push the spending out to the out years where it'll never happen, it's still completely inadequate. They literally set the bar way too low. I mean, 1.5 trillion versus 89.3 trillion. It doesn't bend the spending curve down at all. It increases the deficit. Now, if there was one goal of this Republican budget reconciliation, it ought to be at least reduce the deficit. Don't increase it. We're increasing it, and nobody's talking about it. I guess, really, there are a few of us, but I'm the guy writing the op-eds that the Wall Street Journal titled The Ugly Truth About the Big Beautiful Bill. That's the big, beautiful bill. That's a sales pitch. It's false advertising. It's rhetoric. It's not reality.
All right, let's move on and talk about something else that might end up being good. Kash Patel went on the news, talked about the Russia hoax. Here's what he said.
Congress is working rigorously with us. The Crossfire Hurricane documents are coming fast and hard, and they're being sent there unredacted so we can have full accountability. And that's how you restore what the trust that was lost to the American public when it comes to the FBI. What we can do now is continue to put out the documents and the information that these people withheld from the American public. And I'm just telling you right now, as much as we know about Crossfire Hurricane, he and I just found out more last week. And we're continuing to work with Congress to put those documents out. That's how vindictive and vicious the former leadership structure here was. Not only did they bastardize the FISA process and lie to the American public, they withheld and hid documentation and put it in rooms where people weren't supposed to look. And it's a good thing we're here now to clean it up, and you're about to see a wave of transparency.
What do you mean?
Just give us about a week or two.
Senator, now that sounds really good, and I'm crossing my fingers. I'm hopeful, but people don't realize the level of criminality that took place to go after Donald Trump.
No, not even close. And listen, I take Kash Patel's word. We'll start receiving some of those documents. I think we've gotten some, but again, we need all of them. I don't want to. We'll be very transparent as we get things that people don't know. We will put those out there, but he can put those out there as well. Right now, this week, I'm going to be holding a hearing on corruption of science in the federal health agencies. We're going to be talking about how federal health agencies knew about myocarditis, actually had a safety signal. They admitted, yes, there's a safety signal. A couple days later, they're saying there's no safety signal. So again, we're going to show that, but the deep state does not give up its secrets very easily. as transparent as I know Kash Patel and Bobby Kennedy want to be, they're still fighting the bureaucracy. Things have to be vetted, and it's going to be a tough slog. This isn't going to come overnight.
They also brought up January 6th, which I found interesting. So a lot of people thought post-pardons that whole thing had kind of gone away. Here they were.
We got answers coming. We just found a trove of information, and it's on its way to Capitol Hill right now. And they've asked, and they're getting them, and you're getting answers on January 6th. You're getting answers on what sourcing was utilized, what money was utilized, how many assets were utilized, who made those decisions. You're getting it. We can only control the FBI, but you're getting it from the FBI.
Were there FBI agents undercover egging people on?
Like I said, that answer is coming, and it's on its way to Congress.
You're about to, I saw it. I saw the portfolio of information. We dug far and wide to find it, and I'm pretty sure now we have a conclusive, definitive answer. To get to the bottom of something like January 6th and the pipe bomber case, for example, you need three things. You need people, you need information, and you need people with information. I'll allow the public to put that together and just wait, and you'll see. Nothing we're doing, nothing is by accident.
Senator, have you found them to be extremely open with you? I know Dan. Dan's a good man. I understand the FBI has some real problems there, but are they giving you everything you want when you ask?
I think they will, but we haven't got it yet. I mean, Senator Grassley and I wrote a letter to make sure that we could get from all the agencies, not just the FBI, but who did you have present 9/11? We had the Michael Horowitz report, but they're just talking about the confidential human sources that the FBI had there. What about other law enforcement? What about Capitol Police? CIA? I mean, I have no idea. We wanted a full accounting. We haven't got that yet.
Okay. All right. I hope you do. Senator, thank you so much. I appreciate it. All right. We're almost done. Lighten the mood. Next. All right. It's time to lighten the mood. And it's allergy season. I know it is. I know you're sniffling and snotting and sneezing. I got all that. So maybe, just maybe, you would like a little trick to stop that sneeze from coming. Maybe you're on a date. Maybe you're on television. So I can't take credit for this. My radio producer, Jewish producer Chris, he's the one who gets the credit. Apparently his parents used to use it on him when he was a kid. Here it is.
I had a sneeze coming. You know what that feeling is. I had a sneeze coming. And I looked at Chris with this look of panic in my eyes. And I even gave him a hold on, but he gave me the, what do you mean hold on? What am I supposed? I can't hold on. And then you know what Chris said to me? And I had to sneeze bad. You know what he said to me? Lemon. And the sneeze went away. Chris, is this some Jewish voodoo or something? What is this? What did you do to me? How did that work? What do you mean? I want to know. You don't know how it works. You just know it works. It worked. Did your parents teach you this? Or what tormented you with it? Why does that work? I'm so weirded out right now. I'm not even happy. I would rather have sneezed on the air than to have a sneeze go away by you telling me to think about the word lemon.
Telling you it works. I just fixed your life. See you tomorrow. I would thank you for coming to my YouTube channel, but I know how brilliant it is, and I know you love it here. So subscribe and watch. We're going to start really ramping things up and putting some funny stuff, some interesting stuff out there, some collaborations. Either way, my YouTube channel is officially the place to be. So stick around.